You know the story of Jonah, right? I mean, we all do. The prophet, the guy who tries to ghost God, gets tossed off a boat and ends up in the belly of a giant fish. It's probably one of the first Bible stories we ever hear.
But what if that's just the surface-level story? What if that simple, almost cartoonish image of a whale hides something way older, way more intense? What if the thing that swallowed Jonah wasn't a fish? Not even close. What if it was something terrifying?
See, the way we usually tell the story, it's all about obedience. Jonah didn't listen, so he got a timeout in a fish. But by focusing just on that, we are completely missing the massive cosmic drama that's actually baked right into the Hebrew text. So here's the big idea we're going to unpack. We've been reading it as a story about a big fish, but the original audience, they would have heard a story about a chaos monster, and that changes everything. This isn't just about one guy's bad day at sea. No, this is a story about a battle for the entire cosmos. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how on earth do we get from a fish to a dragon? Well, the first clue, and it's a big one, is all about a single super important word choice that was made thousands of years ago.
It all comes down to translation. In the original Hebrew, the phrase is dag gadol. Pretty straightforward, it means great fish. But then, centuries later, when Jewish scholars are translating the Hebrew Bible into Greek, they get to this part, and they have a choice to make. They could have used the normal Greek word for fish, ichthys, but they didn't. Instead, they chose the word ketos. And ketos, that's not a fish, that's a sea monster, a mythological beast. This was absolutely deliberate.
And that one word choice had this huge ripple effect. The early Christians, their Bible was this Greek translation. So when they read ketos, they thought sea dragon. And you can actually see this. If you look at the earliest Christian art, down in the catacombs on ancient tombs, they aren't painting Jonah and a big fish or a whale. They're carving a long, winding, serpentine sea dragon. This isn't just them being creative, this is them showing you what they believe the text meant.
Okay, so that's clue number one. Clue number two comes directly from Jonah's own mouth, in the prayer he prays from inside this thing.
And you got to listen closely to what he says. He doesn't say, I'm in the belly of a fish. He says, from the belly of Sheol I cried out. Whoa! He's telling us exactly where he is. And it's not just a stomach, it's a cosmological location.
So what is Sheol? For the ancient Israelites, this was not a metaphor for a bad place. It was the underworld, the realm of the dead, a place of total darkness and cosmic disorder. So when Jonah says he's in the belly of Sheol, he's saying the monster's stomach is the underworld. It's a portal to the land of the dead.
And the rest of his prayer just doubles down on this. He uses all this underworld vocabulary. He talks about Nahar, which aren't just rivers. They're the primordial waters of chaos. He says these waters sabab him. They encircle him, which is the same kind of language used for a coiling serpent like Leviathan. And he says he was saved from the shashat, the pit, a classic term for the grave. This isn't just fancy poetry, you guys. This is a theological roadmap of a trip into chaos itself.
Okay, so Jonah descends into the belly of a chaos monster, which is also the underworld. So what? What does any of that have to do with his original mission to go to Nineveh? Well, it changes everything.
To get it, you have to understand something called the divine council worldview. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. The idea for ancient Israelites was that after the whole Tower of Babel incident, God basically put the other nations of the world under the management of lesser divine beings, sometimes called the sons of God.
You see this laid out in places like Deuteronomy 32. The idea is that there were 70 nations, and they were all handed over to these lesser spiritual beings. But Israel, Yahweh, kept Israel for himself as his own direct inheritance. So think about what that means for Jonah. When God tells him to go to Nineveh, he's not just asking him to go to another country, he's telling him to cross a spiritual border into territory ruled by a rival spiritual power. Suddenly, Jonah's mission isn't just an errand. It's a sovereign invasion. It's God making a statement that those boundaries set up at Babel, they're not forever. He's sending his prophet into enemy territory to take a city back, to show that his authority trumps all these other powers.
And all of this, the chaos dragon, the descent into the underworld, the cosmic invasion, it all sets up the ultimate punchline, the final connection that ties it all together, and it's a connection made by Jesus himself.
Remember when Jesus is asked for a sign, he says the only sign they'll get is the sign of Jonah. Well, check this out. When Matthew records what Jesus said, the Greek word he uses for the great fish is, you guessed it, ketos, the sea monster. Jesus knew exactly what he was saying. He's intentionally tapping into this entire chaos dragon tradition.
So the sign of Jonah isn't just about 3 days and 3 nights. It's not a math problem. It's a parallel of victory over chaos. Just like Jonah went down into the belly of the chaos dragon and came back out alive, Jesus is saying he will go down into the heart of the earth, into death itself, and come back out. He's going to conquer the ultimate chaos dragon.
So you see, in the end, the story isn't really about the monster. The dragon is just the gatekeeper. It represents the chaos and death that God has total authority over. The whole book actually ends with a question from God himself, a question for Jonah, but also for us. After this whole cosmic battle, after proving his power, it all boils down to one thing. Should I not have compassion on Nineveh? God's mercy is designed to crash through every single boundary, even to save his enemies. And that might be the most mind-blowing part of the whole story.